Our motto as a team is clients become friends and friends become family. That's because our clients, it's not transactional. It is a genuine relationship. When you are buying or selling with our team, we want to see you succeed. I always say I'm 50% real estate agent, 50% therapist. I feel like even if that's not your personality type, you're going to end up going through some type of emotion throughout the process. It's a lot happening all at once.
It's a lot.
And it's typically happening all within 30 days. I don't care what happens, come hell or high water, I will find a solution. That deal that underappraised by $54,000 is closing on Friday because there is no option but for this to close.
Well, hi, I'm Laura Miller, and thanks for coming back to Keys to Close. Today, I have a really great segment that I'm calling Agent to Agent, and it is going to be where I find Pittsburgh's finest and most talented agents and pick their brains on what we need to do to get the keys to close the perfect deal. So today, I have with me Tori Angiolini.
Hello.
Thanks for coming.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Full disclosure, so I am on Tori's team. I'm honored. I'm privileged. I do like to call myself the firstborn.
She is my firstborn, 100%.
It was a rebirth, just a rejuvenation of business, entrepreneurship, and motherhood.
Absolutely. And you came to me at the perfect time, too.
I did.
Yeah, you really did. I didn't want a team. I didn't think I wanted to have agents under me or, with me. And you came to me at the perfect time. It was a blessing. And you said, hey, you did. You slid into the DMs and you said, hey, I'm interested in joining your team. And I called my mom at the time and I said, I don't know if I want to take on any agents. And she's like, just call her. And when we got off the phone, I was like, I love that girl. Like, I'll take her any day.
Thanks, Mimi. Shout out to Mimi.
Yeah, truly. And it's been such a blessing working with you. And we're going through motherhood and we're working together. So we're growing together every single day. And it's truly amazing.
I think it's so important, not to go off on a tangent already, but to make sure that you're working with people that really kind of give you that light. Because as we'll probably get into at some point, the industry has a lot of burnout and it can happen quickly. I mean, I'm a little over 2 years in, I think, at this point. And like, there are days where I'm like, I don't know how people have done this. You've done this for so much longer.
Yeah.
And I think if I didn't have the team behind me kind of being my cheerleader, so to speak, I don't know that I would have been this far into it even.
Absolutely. And I think the team culture sometimes becomes so competitive. And when I did build a team and I decided, I'm going to grow this, I didn't want that culture for us. I wanted it to be collaborative. I wanted it to be where truly women were supporting other women. We were building each other up. We were teaching each other best practices. We were helping each other learn and grow. And I feel like that's exactly what it's become. And it's so wonderful because you guys help me, I help you, we help each other. And I feel like all of us are where we're at in our businesses because of that, truly. And that level of support is you just don't find that anywhere else.
Yeah. And you've really trained, you've probably trained over 30 agents at this point? How many do you think you've actually trained?
Probably around there. I think, so when I first started in real estate, I took off really quickly. I kind of just found myself in a place where I was like, I really want to do this. I'm going to do everything that I can to learn and grow. Definitely made some mistakes along the way. And when I was training those agents, I will be fully transparent that I probably wasn't training them the correct way, but I was doing it the best way I knew how at the time. And I kind of took on a leadership role within the team that I was in or on. And that kind of just made me realize how much I do love teaching and watching people's businesses grow. And people have said I'm just a natural leader, and that means so much to me because thank you so much. That goes such a long way. I love seeing agents build their businesses because that feeling when you finally have the confidence to grow and help people in the way that you've always wanted to makes the job so fulfilling. Yeah. And I feel like I didn't have that in the beginning. I didn't have really somebody who was cheering me on. So I always want to be a pillar of support for you guys.
Because you started more in custom home building.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So I did start a new construction, and in new construction, it's great. I was like, okay, I get a salary plus commission. Fantastic. But not only that, I get to work in these big, beautiful homes. At the time, I was 24 years old. So, my sphere of influence was not purchasing custom build homes. So I would sit in the model all day and I would kind of just twiddle my thumbs and wait for somebody to come in. And, I would make these really great connections with the people who were coming in and out of the model. But if they weren't purchasing that product that I was selling, I wasn't able to sell to them. And there's a lot of other builders in Pittsburgh, right? So, they would check out, hey, we're going to check out Miranda and Ryan and whatever it may be. And I wouldn't be able to work with them. So when Compass came into Pittsburgh, I saw, all these agents going there. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that would be so cool. But I didn't think I had the experience. I didn't know anything about residential real estate at the time. I was in new construction, which is just a totally different ballgame. I knew some agents who had gone to Compass and I had reached out to them and I'm like, hey, I'm a little bit interested. Ended up joining a team at Compass and I realized that I didn't want to sell a product. I wanted to sell myself. I was making these connections in new construction that I wasn't able to see through because they weren't buying the product that I was selling.
Which makes sense. Yes. You being such a good mentor as a team lead, you mentor clients very well too.
Thank you.
So I do think that that makes sense that was such a good and natural progression for your career.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, it was like people think that we get into real estate so we can sell homes. We're not going into, when we do go into real estate to sell homes.
I'm not working for free.
to sell the house, right? So people think that we go into the home and we talk about how beautiful the kitchen is and we're highlighting all the features. And to be quite honest, more times than not, I'm pointing out the bad things about the home because 100%. That's what's important. So we're selling ourselves. We are working to be trusted advisors. We need to be educating our clients and building our relationships with them. And you and I talk about it all the time. Like clients become, our motto as a team is clients become friends and friends become family. Mm-hmm. That's because our clients, it's not transactional. It is a genuine relationship. When you are buying or selling with our team, we want to see you succeed. We want you to understand what you're doing every step of the way. Mm-hmm. And it's been so rewarding. Yeah. And I know that you feel that way too, since you've built your business.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one thing that was a natural kind of progression or skill for me, transferring my skills from more of like a corporate sales and merchandising background is being able to be more client facing and more helpful, almost providing a service versus the product.
Yeah.
The service is sometimes a little therapy, right? When it gets a little emotional for people, sometimes it's very tactical, working with inspectors, working with whatever the case may be to make sure that the home is sound, safe, secure, all the things. And then, I think at the end of the day, when you're on the listing side, it is that marketing piece. So I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize the impact that agents have on people's lives, not just once, right? Because I think I just read the typical American now is moving like 3 to 4 times in their life.
Right.
And in cities like Pittsburgh, where it's cheaper to buy than rent, that means you're buying most of the time.
Yeah. And being my 6th year now, some of my clients that were my first clients are now selling their first home and buying a bigger home. And we're kind of working through that transition together. It's so cool to see that come full circle.
I was going to ask, that has to be just so one, it's fulfilling because they come back.
Yeah, exactly.
They always come back.
Exactly.
And I don't think that that's necessarily the case for everyone's relationship with their agent, but one thing I pride on our team is I do feel like we have a lot of repeat clients.
We do.
Because they do enjoy the experience that they have going through the process with us,
Absolutely.
even if it's a little bit dicey.
Yeah.
And, not because of anything we did necessarily, but there's problems with the home or financing or whatever it is. But I think that they just built that trust.
Yes.
And that's something that from the initial meeting, I think we try to instill that we're here for you.
For sure. And I think it's exciting for me because this is an ever-growing industry, and also we are ever-changing as agents.
Yeah.
So I look back at my clients from 2021, 2022, and I see even how I have grown as an agent and my processes. Yeah. And I'm so excited to show them this new level of service that I can provide them in this new chapter where we're going to be working together again. So that's also really cool for me, is I at least know that I did a good enough job the first time where you wanted to come back, but now I'm going to do it 10 times better just because I've learned and I've grown so much personally and professionally.
And I think if you're not learning at every transaction, you need to take away a new learning. That is one thing that I wanted to talk about with you, because you've been in the agent over 6 years now.
Yeah.
You've trained all these like newer agents. You know, sometimes I think if you are a newer agent, you'll kind of look at older agents and say, oh, well, why would someone choose me over someone that has 30 plus years of experience? But
Sure.
I think in my head, especially the way the world is just gearing towards more of a digital marketing, for one, for, you know, you list your house, you look on Zillow, you look on all these websites. You're not like going to the newspaper like you used to and finding them in the paper to see when the open houses are. So it's like kind of makes this question in my head of like, well, is, you know, experience the top quality you think an agent needs, or is it relevance, or is it maybe a mix of both? Like, I don't know that it's, you know, if you're a doctor, for example, if you do 10 years of surgery, you probably will be hopefully better than the 1 year resident. But I feel like in our industry, that might not necessarily be the case because, again, like we're a little bit more relevant with some of the marketing tactics.
Yeah. I think it's all about consistency, right? So when I had my daughter and I got my epidural, I said, I want the top anesthesiologist in this hospital to do it. I'm terrified. And he came in and he said, listen, he said, I can do your epidural for you, but I don't do this. I teach. I have the students do it. They do it more than me. So they're going to be better at it. And I think that kind of follows suit in any industry is the more you're doing it, the more you're having conversations, the more you're in it and you're consistent with it, the more you're going to know. There, you know, in the beginning when I didn't have the confidence and I would be meeting with these clients and I would be, you know, oh my goodness, are they only going to know I'm a year or two in? I would tell them, you know, my experience is not measured in years that I've been in this industry. My experience is measured in how many transactions I've done. Because in my first year, I did 62 transactions. Now that was that was from paid lead sources, and I will be the first to say it because.
But still, I mean, that's a lot of transactions. That's a lot of experience and exposure.
Yeah. And I attribute all of my growth to that one single year. I went into real estate with really no money in my bank account. I did not have another job to back me up. I had a wedding coming up out of the country that I had to pay for. And my husband and I, you know, everything that is ours is what we work for. So I ran. I mean, any opportunity, any conversation, any open house, I just needed to be out there. The more I was having those conversations and talking to people, the more I could understand what was valuable to the client and what wasn't. I was able to become a better agent by having those conversations, learning the market. And I feel like, you know, there are agents who have been doing this, for 25, 30 years, and some of them are fantastic, but some of them aren't out there enough to understand the ever-changing market that we are in. So I think it's just, it comes down to consistency. And that's why, you know, when we always have our conversations, and I always say one door always opens another one.
So true.
And the more you talk about real estate, the more natural it becomes, the more confident you become, and the more when you speak about it, you sound, I mean, it's like a no-brainer that people are going to trust you, right? I can talk about it to this point where it's just like second nature to me. It's like riding a bike. In the beginning, I was constantly thinking like, am I going to say the right thing? And I need to make sure that I'm like breaking it down and I sound super professional. Now it's kind of just like surface level, simple, break it down the way that the client needs it. And, you know, just making sure that they fully understand the process from start to finish.
So how do you think, I think consistency is 100%, I think, on the agent side, the name of how to win any game.
Absolutely.
But how do you think, so flipping it more from agent to client, how do you recommend someone find their agent that would be the best fit for them? Yeah,
that's a good question. So I think a lot of times it comes down to what you are trying to achieve. So if you are a seller, you may have different wants and needs in an agent from a buyer's agent, right? I think from a buyer perspective, personality really, really matters. Like you have to make sure it's a good personality fit. If you are somebody who is about the numbers and the data and you kind of just want it, you know, cut and dry, there are agents out there who are very much like that, and that might be a great fit for you. But if you are somebody who maybe needs a little bit more support, you need more of handholding, you need a friend, you need somebody who you know is going to be honest with you, that is something that I think you need to look for in your agent. a lot of agents on social media, it's very easy for us to show like we're doing a lot of things.
Yes.
We can go to a showing and we could literally make an appointment for a showing that we're not even showing an actual client.
That's true.
And we can post it on Instagram and say,
some
hey.
may have already done this.
Yeah. I mean, we've all done it,
Yeah,
right? We've
yeah.
all done it. I think you need to really, really, you need to dive in and look, is that agent just showing pretty houses, or is that agent educating me through social media, through their website?
Yeah.
Do they have the numbers to back it up? I'm not saying they have to do, millions and millions in volume, but where are the testimonials and the reviews showing that this agent is truly going to care for me in the way that I need them to, right? I think from a seller perspective, it's more so, how are you going to make my property different? One of my biggest things, and you know this, and I cannot stand it, is that I will see a $800,000 home and there will be dishes in the sink in the photo.
It makes my skin and like the hair back up on my neck.
Yeah.
It stands out. I see it all the time in the South Hills specifically.
Yeah. And
it's crazy.
And the thing is that's not the seller's fault. That's not it's not a reflection of the seller. The agent, it is so easy for us. So when I get a photo back or all my photos back, and we both do this, we go through every single photo, every single one.
Hours.
And we're like, for hours. And we're taking out like the cable cord in the corner or the dishes in the sink. Or, we're actually there at the photos making sure that the bedspread looks nice. And I know that sounds so silly and so minimal, but the way you present yourself online is the way that captures, the most people.
Right.
So it's all about, I talk a lot about listing launch, and I know a lot of people don't know what that means, but your listing launch, and I just put out a video, is your Super Bowl. So like, you have the most eyes on your home from the minute you put it out there.
Right.
So the minute you put it out there, it needs to be pristine.
Yeah.
You need to have high quality photo. You need to have video. Those photos need to look good. The description needs to be good. The agent who's representing you needs to present themselves well. So there's so many pieces that go into it. But then, of course, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about this, like the strategy behind the pricing, that all matters too.
Yeah. But I think that also then ties back to that question of like, do you need someone with a ton of experience only versus having maybe an agent that is still being relevant, right?
Yeah.
So like you could be 40 years deep, but still roll with the same strategy. And I think that is where the interview portion for buyers or sellers, whatever real estate needs they have, they need to be literally interviewing them.
Yeah.
Like I feel like anytime I have a buyer or seller consult, I am being interviewed. And like the goal, I always say this at the beginning of both of those consults, I say, if you walk away from this and you never want to talk to me again, that is okay. I'm not offended.
Right.
If you feel like one of your friends would love me and you're just not, that's fine. I want to make sure that we're going to spend at least the next 35 to 45 days together until we close on your home. And it's going to be a roller coaster of emotions. There's going to be things that come up. There's going to be problems right after you close. There's problems before you close. So if you're not already feeling like, okay, I want to talk to her, I'll go see some houses with her, it's not going to be good.
Right.
It's not going to be good for anybody.
And I always say it too. I want us to be a good fit for each other, because I think that's one thing that I learned is I don't have to work with everybody, right? Like I want to work with as many people as I possibly can and as many people as I have the capacity to, but also there's some people who truly, I might not be a good fit for them, but sometimes they may not be a good fit for us. And sometimes, so investors is a really great example. I don't have a ton of experience with investors. It's not that I don't want to work with them. I would love to. But to be quite honest, if someone comes to me and says, hey, I really want to, dive into my investment portfolio this year, I sell them. I'm just not the best agent for you. I don't know enough about it. And I think it's that transparency that goes such a long way, because we have to be honest with ourselves and we have to make sure that we're providing people the best service, because what is it? If you overpromise and underdeliver, that's going to hurt you so much more.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important too.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. So you mentioned earlier about the buyers and sometimes it is a little bit emotional. How do you feel like the buyer psychology has kind of shifted as of lately in the market?
I always say I'm 50% real estate agent, 50% therapist. I feel like even if that's not your personality type, you're going to end up going through some type of emotion throughout the process. It's a lot happening all at once.
It's a lot, yeah.
And it's typically happening all within 30 days. And, I'm trying to, I think a big piece of that comfort level for buyers is prepping them to what the current market looks like and what to expect. So right now we're in spring market. We talk about that a lot. It's very crazy. A lot of things are going into multiple offers. A lot of things are going over list price. So instead of, if I see a home that, someone sends me and says, hey, Tori, I want to look at this. Okay, great. If that price is under where I think the value is, and I look on showing time and there's a ton of showings lined up, and I just think that this is something that's going to go into multiple offers, I'm preparing the buyers prior to even walking through that door. So that way they're not heartbroken when they see the house that they love and then they realize they have to go $25,000 over a list to obtain it, right? And I think it's also training them on, our side of things and giving them those tips and tricks. I always talk about how we list on Wednesdays and Thursdays, do no showings until Friday or Saturday, and then the goal is to have the home off the market or in multiple offers by Sunday or Monday. So I tell my buyers that. I'm like, if you're looking on a Monday morning for homes and you're like, there's no inventory, I'm not seeing anything, it's because everything good from the weekend has been eaten up.
Right.
So I tell them, be on the lookout, of course, all the time, but Wednesday and Thursday specifically, send me whatever you see. And then we're going to plan to get there, be the first in the door. So that way we have the time to strategize on what makes the most sense if you do want to move forward. I think, we definitely have seen a shift since the pandemic. The market isn't moving as fast, but people have a common misconception that because interest rates are in the 6s and 7s, that there's not a lot of buyer demand. There is. There are always people that will need to move. If the interest rates go up to a 27 tomorrow, there are still people who need to downsize, upsize, move to Pittsburgh for work, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So the buyer demand is still out there. And I'm making sure that not only buyers know that, but sellers know that as well. People relate so much back to the pandemic market where interest rates were 2%. I remember the lowest one I ever saw was 1.8.
I'm going to just put that out there.
Yeah.
Like I have people that have told me, I'm going to wait till they drop to like 4.
Yeah. I have buyers who will sometimes say, maybe we'll wait until the market gets better. And when they say that, I always say, okay, absolutely. What does that mean to you? Because what does that mean to you? And if they say, well, interest rates are going to drop. What's going to happen if interest rates drop? That means that everybody who is sitting around waiting for interest rates to drop are then going to enter the market and the home values are then going to increase.
Because then you're going to be paying, what, 20, 30, who knows how much more for the house.
Exactly. So your interest rate may be lower, but your payment's going to be higher because you're ultimately paying more for the home.
I always say, like, it all comes out in the wash.
Yes.
Because at some point, like, and I think you said this recently because we've had a couple appraisals come in wonky. And the house, whatever the house is worth is what it will sell for.
Yes. We talk about that all the time.
And as much as we want to pull out our magic wands, and especially on the list side, I want all of my listings to sell for, I would love for them to sell for double. I mean, truthfully, we put everything we can into our listings, but I cannot dictate market value. It's like economics 101.
And that's also up or down. That's, the house will always sell for, if it's worth more than what it's listed at, it will sell for more. If it's worth less for what it's listed at, it will sell for less. We talk about this too, where it's like, let's list high and see what happens. Okay, well, if I'm listing, if I'm listing your $700,000 house, if I think it's $700,000, but you tell me, oh, we want to start at $775,000. What's going to happen is we're going to list it at $775,000. Everybody is going to go on Zillow or whatever app they're using, and they're going to see the similar comparables that have sold. And they're going to say, well, other homes in this area are selling for $700,000. So why is this one $775,000? I'm going to wait for it to drop.
Yeah.
Now that home's been on the market for 60, 70, 80 days. And the other buyers who are coming in and just seeing it for the first time are going to say, well, every other house is going off the market in like 4 days. Why has this one been up for 80? There's something wrong with it.
They're like, what's wrong with it? Yeah. Yeah. I've seen that a lot lately. I feel like that's the one thing I will say. What's wrong with the market, I think, is improper pricing.
100%. And, when you have a buyer who says, I like that house, let's go check it out. What's going to happen is you might as well just plaster, negotiable on the listing because the
Maybe
agent,
I'll try that.
Yeah, I mean, the agent,
Let's see if it works.
and I say the same thing to my buyers. I'm like, this has been up for 100 days. We have all the wiggle room in the world.
Yeah,
because
that's
you
true.
do.
You're
So-
like, it's an easy one in the bag.
Exactly. So now the $775,000 house, well, it's been on the market for months, and you finally get an offer at 700, and you're like, I have to take this. And now you've got that same price anyways. You just wasted months of your time.
And money. I mean, you're paying taxes, you're paying all the maintenance.
Yeah. And I think too, people don't realize how much weight an appraisal holds on a home sale.
Yeah.
And there are many home sales that we see fall through because of appraisal value, especially when the market is kind of in the, up market where people are bidding over.
Yeah.
I just recently had an appraisal that came in $50,000 or $54,000 under list price. And I think a common misconception with that is like, oh, I'm going to get the house for $54,000 less.
Right.
You're not, because the seller's not willing to take $54,000 less. They think the home is worth more. And you probably don't want to make up the difference of $54,000,
Most
right?
probably not, yeah.
Right? So it's like the deal can fall through if that appraisal value comes in significantly lower. Yeah, if it's a matter of a couple $1,000s, we typically do work it out. But that holds so much weight.
And do you feel like people are interested in negotiating with it when those appraisals come in? Or is it kind of like, from the seller perspective, let me clarify that.
Yeah.
Like, or are they more so like the buyer needs, maybe not that $54,000 one, but is the expectation a lot of the time kind of falling on the buyer to bring in the funds?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the conversations that we're having with our sellers prior to even going on the market. So using that example of the 775, right? It's like if I tell you it's a $700,000 house and say you did get that 775, but it appraises at 700,000, that's when I say like, unfortunately, that's where the market is for this home. That's the value of the home. So I think it's, sometimes agents just want to get the listing and they'll throw up any listing at any price. And they're like, you know what? It'll sell eventually, regardless of what it sells at, but it's my listing. They signed the contract with me, so they have to work with me. But what happens is you set unrealistic expectations for your seller, and they're just going to be frustrated with you once the closing comes around because you've just wasted their time. They're going to get significantly under what you told them that they could get or what they think that they can get. And I think I don't know. I see sellers who are willing to like meet in the middle, but a lot of buyers right now, reasonably so, either number one, don't have the additional funds to make up the difference, or they don't want to.
Yeah.
If I'm buying a house that's $200,000 and an appraiser comes and says it's only worth $150,000, I don't want to pay $200,000 for it, especially if it's my first home. Because when I go to sell it in 5 years, what if the market hasn't even reached the value of what I've paid for it?
Yeah.
So I think that's something that how they say agents are trusted advisors, like we really, really are. And you need to be working with somebody who's going to talk you through all of these things.
Yeah.
And fully transparent, I didn't know a lot of this when I first started.
But that's where I feel like the experience comes with the transactions.
Yes.
Not so much, I don't care. I'm kind of transparently really sick of people just being like, I did $7 million last year. Like, congratulations. That is a feat. But to me, I want my clients to know that that's just a number. Mm-hmm. And what the negotiating that went on behind that is much more valuable to me than the actual number, because that is a skill that I don't think is common amongst all the realtors of Pittsburgh. And there are a ton of us. There are so many real estate agents. And when I first got into the business, I was like, wow, how will I ever compete? Mm-hmm. But I think going back to 1, everybody interviews you and it's a personality fit. 2, all of our experiences are different.
Yep.
3, like you said, you do not love an investor. Mm-hmm. I love it. I put on my Johanna Gaines pants and I'm like, where's my chip?
Yeah.
Let's find this house. Let's flip her.
And you're fantastic at it.
I mean, give me a hold hazard sign to sign any day and I am your girl. Like, I love to see the potential in properties come to life.
Absolutely.
But it is a whole other world of like all the township stuff, all the, most of the time the buyer's responsible for all of the things. So it is like a much different business.
Yeah.
But I think that that's kind of what makes Pittsburgh cool in the real estate market.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And living in New York, I've spoken with a couple agents there, and it's more like they just sell condos or apartments. They have
rentals, or just rentals,
or just rentals. They have no idea, like they don't do inspections. So what's there to inspect? They're sharing, units and stuff with the building. So it's just such a different world here in the burbs.
Yeah.
But also in the city, because then on the flip side, I did just show a condo. So like we have such an array of knowledge.
Yes. And there's so many different home types, which is really cool about Pittsburgh. We have, your traditional split level, say, like there's a lot of those in East Pittsburgh.
So many.
Or ranch style homes. And then if you go somewhere maybe like South Hills, like Mount Lebanon area, a lot of those are older homes.
Older Tudors.
Yes.
Stunning. From like the 1900s.
I think out by, the airport region, there's a lot of new construction. Each area kind of has, they all have a mix of everything, but each area kind of has its own little niche. And I think it's really cool because we get to experience and understand all of it and see so many different things. And that helps us to grow 10 times faster.
Yeah. Because I think being able to switch hats in any career is just, it makes you such a more valuable employee. But I guess as we're not really employees, but we're agents here. But I think too, what do you feel like as an agent, the most valuable lesson you've learned to date is?
Be a good person and good things will come to you.
That is your motto.
That's my motto. And it's
excellent.
Thank you. I do this because I genuinely want to help people. I love people. People are the only thing I've ever been good at. I was decent at sports, surprisingly, when I was young.
What did you?
Everything: soccer, softball, basketball, track.
I didn't know we had Olympian too.
I know, but I fell off. But that truly,
now she will not even go to a gym class with me.
No, like I refuse.
Like literally,
I don't like to move. It is what you see is what you get. But I wasn't very good at school, and I truthfully I didn't have much confidence growing up because I didn't feel like I was good at anything.
Aww.
I always thought about getting into real estate. I thought it would be really cool. My friends were like, Tori, you would be so good at it. And I'm like, would I be? I don't know. I went to college for management and human resources, and I did a couple staffing and recruiting jobs, which were really great. But I didn't, I was just, you're like punching a time clock, you're just going and you're sitting at a desk kind of twiddling your thumbs on the days you don't have things to do.
And corporate it's just, life.
Yeah, I know you love the corporate life.
Some days we threaten we're going back.
Yeah, but for me, I didn't feel like I was reaching my full potential. And so when I signed up for my real estate classes, I had no idea where it was going to take me. I kind of just went into it with no expectations. When you feel good at something, it makes you so much better, and when you see the progress that you've made. I look back at when I first started 6 years ago, and I'm like, girl, you have learned so much. Like, being proud of myself truly is one thing that it's important to me, especially this year, and just seeing how much I've grown and how many people I've been able to help. And I think you're seeing that now too.
Yeah.
Is like, it's just, you can look back and think like, wow, like I've been able to help so many people and I've built so many wonderful relationships along the way. And it's a really cool industry to be in.
It is really rewarding, especially when, maybe you work with a client and they kind of come to you like already kind of pessimistic because maybe they had like a random lender tell them they couldn't get approved for this or that.
Right.
And, we always say we got a guy, like, like, talk to my guy. Let's see what he can do for you, and just seeing that we can really help you maximize your real estate investment because it is, at the end of the day, it is the largest investment you can ever make.
Absolutely.
It keeps your family safe and, secure when you're living there, but then also that's what you're going to sell one day to maybe pay for retirement, or like at the end of the day, that is just as important as your bank account.
Yes. And I think
more so.
I think for us, we don't do, yes, we do this for the money, right? But
somebody's got to pay the bills.
Somebody's got to pay the bills. But it's so important for us to be able to help people and to guide people through these processes. Yeah. And it's, like you said, it's just been so rewarding over time. I'm curious, in your time in real estate, what do you feel like is the biggest thing you've learned since being on the team?
I think The biggest thing I've learned is making sure that we put a lot of our heart and soul into this business, but boundaries are also very important for our own mental health.
Absolutely.
And I think especially as, you know, women's working moms, there's a lot of people that need you every day, whether it be clients, family, friends, dogs, babies. And I think that is kind of going back to like the burnout comment I made earlier. You know, I think for me, the solution is having the support of the team. Because there are days where I'm like, I'm going back to the corporate desk. I just want to put my headphones in and get my check. But then, like you said, you meet a wonderful client and you see their family get this house that they never thought that they could get. And like, it's just so fulfilling. But I think definitely it's boundaries because as, you know, I do think too, as a young agent, you kind of go like, oh, where are my sales going to come from? Right. And then for whatever reason, it just starts to click. And like all of a sudden you're in it and you have all these clients and it's kind of like happened out of nowhere.
Isn't that the best feeling? Is like, you're like, great. Oh, I got this.
But now you're like, oh, I need to like have some branding. I need like, there's so many different facets. Like if I hear one more time from someone like, oh, real estate agents, they just open houses. I'm like,
and I think truly,
okay.
And I think truly people who say that, it's just have you worked with an agent who has provided you value? Because if you did, then you wouldn't be saying those things. Now, when do you feel like it really clicked for you?
So I think last August when my lovely broker and team lead had a sit down with me about my potential. And I think it's kind of one of those things. I think this is applicable to any business owner where it's very, very scary to not have steady income and then spend a bunch of money, like thousands of dollars into your business to drive business. But that old saying, you got to spend money to make money is very much relevant when you're in the entrepreneurial world. And so I think having that realization, like with you guys, with the broker and you, I think it really just helped me kind of click, if you will, and say, okay, like if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it because I'm spending time, no matter what you do to grow your business, you're going to be spending time away from your family. And, you know, as a new mom too, like every minute is a minute I'm missing a milestone or I'm missing, you know, a moment that is gone because they grow up so fast. So I want to make sure that whatever I'm doing is fruitful. And I agree that like doing something is better than nothing all the time. So it's not like, even if you're just like emailing people, I'm not saying that that's a waste, but I really wanted to maximize my time. And so by doing that, I started with some leads. Which have become already repeat clients for me, which has been great. Grown so much
because
from that. I'm not even doing them now. You know, like it was such a short stint, but it was a large investment. So I think for me, that's been kind of the scariest thing is just investing in yourself too. Because it's not just like I say business, but it's really investing in me, right? And having that confidence, which is something that from you, from everybody else on our team, have really taught me like, you have to be confident in yourself. And there's going to be people that tell you do a terrible job, no matter what you do. You could be the highest ranking agent in all of Pittsburgh for the next 40 years. And there's going to be many people, I'm sure, that are going to not have positive things to say. And that's okay. But I think in the past, I would let that build a wall in front of the success that I could reach.
Yeah, it's very hard not to compare yourself in our industry. That's something that I struggled with as well. And I think the more people you work with and the more transactions you're able to see unfold, you're like, I got this. Like, it doesn't matter. And, you know, you mentioned the volume thing. We always try not to post a bunch of numbers. We do occasionally, of course, but like we try not to post a bunch of numbers because everyone will post, oh, we did X million, you know, people don't even know what that means.
No, I think a lot of people, because someone said like, wow, you guys did like, I don't know what it was, 5 million. I don't even know our own numbers. I do, but not off the top of my head. And I was like, she's like, girl, you taking me on vacation? I said, Mama, we're not taking 5 million into the bank. I wish.
Right.
But that's not how this works. You know,
it's not.
It's the sales number, which is, again, very impressive from the business standpoint. But I literally think people in some capacity, a lot of the times thinks that we're like flashing our paychecks.
Yeah. And I don't, I used to feel like I needed to be that person. And now I'm more so like, let me just show who I am and show the value that I can provide.
But
and
I think that's a change in the business too, though. Because like that, for a long time, that's what people wanted to see.
It is.
Consumers.
It is.
But now they're, I think, getting smarter because of time and
like you said, there's so many of us. So it's like, how do you stand out?
Right.
You have to try to do what not everybody else is
like
doing.
I'm not just going to go to Instagram and be like, okay, this one did 7, this one did 8, and this one did 10.
Yeah.
10. Like, exactly. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't really make any sense. Yeah. So I think people are looking for, okay, like, but what does she do for their clients?
Absolutely.
I think people also think like, okay, you list a house and then you just take a check. Like true to some capacity, but in reality, I mean, we're investing money into that.
Yeah.
I mean, home staging, it can
expensive.
Be thousands of dollars depending on the size.
Mm-hmm.
The photos alone, almost $1,000. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, there's no gatekeeping here. Like, it's not cheap to list a home. Yep. And it's not a guaranteed check. Mm-mm. So again, it's like, having this confidence in yourself should be a reflection to clients like, okay, she's going to work for me because she's putting time and money into this for me. And I think that's a big takeaway because a lot of times I'll say to people that are coming to me that are like, maybe they tried to list their home and it wasn't the right time of year, or like they had another agent or whatever it was. And I say, we go over like my services that I offer it for their listing. And they're like, wow, you do all of that for the same commission price as Joe Schmo at, 123 Main Street brokerage. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wait, yeah. Like to me, I'm always kind of like dumbfounded. I'm like, wait, what were they doing? Right. Like, were they open it? Like, did they have a Broadway production coming in or something for you instead? Like, and they're like, no, So I think that is just, again, going back to like, if you're paying someone, you better interview them.
And you better know the details of what they're doing behind the scenes. And I think it goes back to, like you said, the business mindset. Everyone on our team is operating as a business independently, right? So like I'm running my own business, you're running your own business. We're investing time, we're investing money. When I tell you I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm thinking about real estate, I catch myself so much to the point where I'm like, like literally. I eat, sleep, breathe this career. 1, because I love it. 2, because I'm so invested. And I think that's the difference is like, I've heard people who are like, I get my license, I got my license because I love HGTV and I love houses. Yeah. And I know that real estate agents can make a lot of money. That's cool. But it takes every single minute of my day is in some capacity consumed by work. And I think that's also what people don't understand is,
it's literally all we talk about.
It's all we talk about.
Sometimes I'm like, maybe we should get a hobby and like play pickleball together or something.
But I don't even know if we could do that.
But you don't do sports.
I don't. I do it for you.
Okay.
I think, it's, we'll
be like at the bar and we'll be like, so did you want to see my inspection report?
Literally.
And you're like, hell yeah.
I love it though. I love, sometimes
do you want to see this panel? It's a fuse box. This is crazy. It's like people must be like,
I have friends who will ask me real estate questions. And they're like, I'm sorry, you probably don't want to talk about work. I'm like, actually, I'm so glad you brought it up because I love to talk about work.
And I have nothing else to contribute.
Yeah,
to this conversation.
It is become part of who I am. My daughter will grow up in a world where
she's
by the time she is 18 years old, she will know all the ins and outs of real estate because she will literally have heard me talk about it over and over and over and over again.
She will have her license and be mama's assistant.
Hopefully one day. But yeah, I mean, I think it's part of me now. It's part of who I am. And I think that's the same with you, right? It's like you adapt to becoming that person, that business. And that makes all the difference.
Yeah. I can truly say, like, I've worked for so many different companies, high end, low end. And I never really felt like my day had a purpose. Mm-hmm. Like it kind of feels crappy when you like walk into your office and you're like, what is life?
Yeah.
Like, what am I here for? And, you know, you're like, I'm making a paycheck. I'm providing for my family. Sure. But I think like finding a job that feels so fulfilling, like it's even though it is stressful, it doesn't even feel like a job to me. Like sometimes I'll be like, oh, I forgot I was getting paid today. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I just feel like I'm helping friends. I
truly
feel like and I'm sure like a lot of agents would maybe argue like that's not the way to think about your business. You have to like have boundaries and make sure that, you know, there's a level of professionalism, which sure I agree with. And we do, for the most part, keep it cool, you know, with the clients. But then like some of them do become like actual friends.
Oh, for sure.
So then you're like, okay, now I'm really in it for you. Yeah, I don't know. And more times than not, that happens.
Yeah, I think one thing I've learned too is like I can turn it on and off. So like I can be friend Tori, but I can also be like real estate agent, professional Tori. Like if we're gonna banter and like have a good time, we can absolutely do that. But if it's like time to get down to the nitty gritty and we're strategizing and we're figuring out kind of what the next steps are, like you are going to get we just have to go all in. Like no jokes will be had. You know what I mean? But I think it's also very important to show that personal side because it helps people to break their walls down and it helps them to feel like they can tell you what their thoughts and feelings are through the process so you know how to best help them, right? If you don't tell me how you're feeling, I don't know how to help you.
Right, we're not mind readers.
Exactly.
That's the only thing like sometimes drives me wild is like they'll be like, well, I really didn't like this in the inspection. Or I didn't really want this part of, like, I didn't like this part of the house. And it's like, no, we need to talk about all of this in real time.
Yes.
And you can't be, you're not hurting my feelings if you don't like something about the house.
Yes.
Or you don't like, even if it's a vendor that I suggested to you, if you don't like the job that they did, I want to know. Because we work with these people all the time and they like the feedback too.
Yeah.
And likewise on the listing side, like if we're speaking to our buyers and they don't like something about the house, like we need to convey that to the listing agent so that they can address it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, especially maybe first time home buyers, like they could be a little more skittish to that. How do you kind of make sure, I guess, I mean, we've already kind of covered it, but like, just making sure that your buyers are comfortable speaking to you. And like, again, even if they don't like something that I did,
right,
you know, or how I explain something. I think that is, again, it's not rude to say, hey, like, you didn't explain this well.
Right.
I need a clarification.
Yeah, I think I became a better agent when I started listening more than talking. I think you and I mean, we'll yap all day. We will yap all day. And our first instinct is to like even doing this podcast, like you're talking and I'm like trying to get words out because I like can't. Yeah, like I can't wait to say the next thing. That's just who we are.
It's just we're very passionate.
We're very passionate. But sometimes you need to, you know, really take a step back and allow your clients to say how they're feeling or feel like they have the space to say how they're feeling. And, you know, when I started listening, when I started asking open-ended questions, when I explain something, I say, does that make sense? If it doesn't, I'm happy to go over it again. You know, all of those little details, I feel like throughout the process are helpful subconsciously to our clients because we have to understand what the root of their emotion is, whether they're feeling anxious, sad, excited. And we've talked about too, like all the different phases that a client goes through the process, right?
Yeah.
Like you start poking around and looking for a house and you're like, oh, this is fun. You know, this is cool. And then you like get inside of the house and you're like, oh, like this, you know, we could live here. Like I can imagine life here, whatever it is. And then you find something you really like and you're ready to make an offer and you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for all this. I don't know if, even when I wrote my own offer on my own house, I'm like, is this the right decision? You have that self-doubt.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, then you get the offer accepted and you're like, oh, wow, this is a lot all at once. You're getting emails from us. You're signing documents from the lender. You're getting, you know, things from title. There's so many things being thrown at you. You're wiring money, you know, and you're like, wow, this is a lot. I did not know that this was going to be this much. And all at the same time, I'm working, I'm taking care of a family, I'm packing, I'm, doing whatever you're doing. And then we go through the inspection and the appraisal process. And that's where we really need to make sure that we're strategizing, because there's a lot of strategy involved in those two pieces. And those two pieces will make or break the transaction every single time. So I think making sure that we handle those portions with care and with patience is makes all the difference.
Yeah.
And also, making sure that we take the time to go through everything line by line.
Yeah.
And then once we're through that, it starts to get exciting again. Right? It starts to get exciting again. People are like, okay, I can breathe.
It's like the lull before the close.
Yes.
It's like silence.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, wait, I've been doing things like every second of every day, signing documents. And now like it's radio silence. Is anything wrong?
Yeah.
And I think too, that's our job to like reassure them like, hey, it's smooth sailing. Like, get packing, we're going to close on this day. This is the time to get excited. And then you go through a final walkthrough and it's like that excitement's back that you first felt in the beginning. And it's you have to understand how to handle your clients through each of those cycles.
And like, truthfully, selfless plug, I think Compass as a brokerage does a really, really fantastic job on the tech side of having the client portal and dashboard, which our team is utilizing to input all of the dates that you need on all of those milestones you mentioned of the process. And I think knowledge is power. And I think that does soothe a lot of anxiety versus an agent that maybe they don't have that system at their brokerage. And it's just kind of like random phone calls like, okay, we're going to schedule the inspection this day. And then she'll be like, okay, the appraisal's tomorrow. And you're kind of like, wait, what's an appraisal? It's so much to remember. And like, we do this every day, all the time.
Yeah.
We take classes on it's like continuing ed and we have our license. Like we get it. But I also understand that for someone that is just buying for the first time, or maybe the first time in the last 3 or 5 years, they don't know what any of this is really. Right. I mean, it's not always, as like you mentioned earlier, it's not always a straight line to the finish line. It most 9 times out of 10, it's like this.
Yeah.
So again, I think having a team behind you, the agent side, but also on the client side of like, okay, first of all, someone is going to answer me basically immediately, whether it's my agent, transactions director, maybe another agent on the team that's helping, out with the transaction as well.
Yep.
They have someone to go to at all times. But then, like having a technology piece, I mean, to me, I think that's going to really change the trajectory of real estate in general.
For sure.
Like, I'm kind of surprised that it's 2026 and that's not standard for every single brokerage.
Yeah.
Like the fact that there's no technology offered, it's just like mind boggling that we're just sending DocuSigns and people are just signing and like have no visibility of the flight path of the sale or purchase of a home.
Yeah. When I was independent for 2 minutes before you and I linked up, I quickly realized that you're only as strong as your support staff and your systems, right? And if you don't have the systems and processes in place, nothing matters. Nothing else matters.
Mess,
yeah, it is a mess. And that's why we have support from all angles. And that's why we can do what we do. That's why we're able to, create boundaries and have that time back with our kids or with our family or doing things that we enjoy doing, because we have people working behind the scenes to help support us. Because it doesn't matter who you are. I personally feel like there is not one agent out there who can do all of this on their own if they're a full-time, consistent producing agent.
Yeah, at least not in the way it should be done.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like in a way that is easy for the client to understand, it's accessible, right? And it's correct.
Yeah.
Because I think I see too, like on the listing side at least, I've seen a lot of very busy agents put in offers and like the contract doesn't have the right information or the dates don't make sense, or like there's just a lot of mistakes. And I think, like you were saying earlier, when it's a multiple situation, a listing agent, like I might not necessarily call an agent if I don't know that your date was supposed to be a week earlier for closing. And maybe that made a big difference.
Absolutely. Agent to agent relationships are huge. I think that's one thing that we lack in our industry is agent to agent relationships. I think people are too worried about the competitive nature, which meanwhile we're all doing the same thing and trying to achieve the same goal.
There's plenty of clients to go around.
Yes.
Plenty.
And one thing that it's kind of hard to put into words because it's like, how do you say this to your client? But when you're choosing an agent, look at how they speak to other people and how they speak to you.
Yeah.
Because if they're not speaking kindly or professionally or respectfully to the other agent on the other end, how do you think that's going to go? Because you do not get anywhere by being nasty to somebody. Agents need to work together. We are in this together. We are trying to achieve the same goal. Whether you're representing the seller and I'm representing the buyer or vice versa, our goal is for the seller to sell the house and for the buyer to get the house and to make it to the closing table.
And I never understand why people get nasty because like also just from an agent perspective, like you're not getting paid if this doesn't close. So like, let's just make it happen for you, for me, and obviously first and foremost for our clients. But it never really makes sense. And I understand, like, look, I'm competitive. Everybody has some, if you're not competitive in this business, sometimes a little competition, I think, drives the best, right? It makes you want to be better. But I do think, like there is a lack of camaraderie. I mean, I've even seen it within brokerages, like, absolutely. I mean, it's just, it can be a little bit of a reality TV show sometimes.
It can be. And I think too, like eliminating the drama is a big piece to propelling your business as well. You kind of have to tune out the noise. You really do. And my primary focus is my family, my career, and my friendships. And anything other than that, truthfully, does not matter to me. So unless you are my family, my client, or my friends, everything else is just noise. And I think that's one thing that I struggled with in the beginning is there's like so much noise coming into the industry and there's so much drama and it's like what are we here for? Because it's not that. And when you get taken down that vortex of like that toxic drama cycle, it's all it's doing is hurting your business. All it's doing is hurting you. And I think that's important too, is like you said, it's, you have to work on yourself and you have to make sure that you're not getting involved in those type of things as an agent. But agent to agent relationships are huge. And I love when I get to work with agents who are like, let's do this together. One of our big things at Compass is being solutions driven.
Yes, it is.
And that is like my biggest thing ever this year is like, I don't care what happens, come hell or high water, I will find a solution. My favorite is when I'll be like, this deal's blowing up, Tor. I just don't know. Like, it's not going to close. And you'll be like, you call that agent and you say, this is closing. Yeah, this is closing. Like, I don't care what the problem is. We are closing this deal. That deal that underappraised by $54,000 is closing on Friday because there is no option. That's amazing. There is no option but for this to close. Right. And it's not for me to get my paycheck. No, it's like for my client. Want it also. It is like, for my client. Yeah. Like, and I am going to do every single thing. I'm going to work A through Z, every single option. I am like, and this is actually one thing that one of my sellers told me over the summer that I didn't even realize that I did. She said, I loved working with you because you found a solution to the problem before you even presented it to me. You do. So you do that well. When there was a problem, and there were many. I mean, this listing went on and off the market 3 times, okay? Yeah. So when there was a termination or when there was a problem, I would call her and I'd say, hey, here's what we're working with right now. Here's how we're going to fix it. And if that doesn't work, here's how we're going to fix that. And she said she felt so much comfort in knowing that I had already had a plan because I feel like our jobs as agents, we have to deliver some really shitty news sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. And it's hard. It's hard. And I think we need to understand how someone is feeling when we're delivering that information, but also provide a solution to pair with that. Mm-hmm. And that makes all the difference because I'm working behind the scenes to make sure that you're taken care of regardless of what hiccups we come across, right? Yeah. And I think a lot of agents don't necessarily work in that fashion, or they're just like, oh, it's just kind of like, here's the problem. Yeah. And like, what do you tell me what you want to do? Here's this is what the problem. Yeah. Yes or no. You want to move forward. And and sometimes it does come to that point. I mean, sometimes we do, but we always present a couple, like we'll be
this is solution A, this is solution B, and this is C. Which one are you the most comfortable with?
Absolutely.
And I think
multiple choice.
Exactly.
You know what I always say? Give them multiple choice.
And then there's always D, other.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's always something.
Yeah, if there's a will, there's a way. And I think a lot of agents, sometimes it is just easier to be like, let's just terminate and go back to market.
And what do I say all the time too? There's beauty in the simmer.
There is.
So with that appraisal, right? My client, she was like, it was such terrible news. We thought it was falling through, and she's like, just terminate. Like, I'm done. I can't. I'm exhausted. I'm done. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, take the night to think about it. That evening, I am like calling every single Joe Schmo trying to figure out something. And by the morning, she had calmed down and I had a solution. And we were we let it simmer.
You let it simmer, right?
We let it simmer.
Because you don't want to act.
You don't act on emotion.
And that is one thing that I have had to learn in this industry, because it is a very emotional situation 99% of the times.
Yes.
Happy, sad, mad, whatever it is. But you never want to make like rash decisions out of these emotions.
And that's what she had said to me, when we did figure it all out. She's like, thank you so much for not letting me terminate. Thank you so much for talking me off the ledge and just work. I knew ultimately at the end of the day, she wanted that house. She was devastated that the thought that she wasn't going to get it. So we were going to get her that house. I didn't know how, but we were going to figure it out. That's something that everyone's so great on our team. And we really make sure that we're doing everything that we can to make sure.
And I think too, walking into the team, like you had so many great vendors relationships, whether that's financing, home inspections, repairmen, roofers, whatever it is. Our people are our tribe.
And they're wonderful.
And we roll deep.
We do.
And that's where I just interview your agents is going to be the name of this because if you end up doing more work at the end of the day to make a transaction complete as a client, then I would probably say you did not choose wisely, because there's going to be work on your part. We cannot do everything for you. But if you're not giving at least tools, so you're not spending time figuring out solutions or vendors to execute for you, then I think that is a problem.
How many times do we see a deal fall through because an inspection is so terrible? Because the client doesn't go with one of the inspectors that we recommend, or one of the inspectors that is actually
literally
knowledgeable.
Every single time they're like, I'm going to use Bob's Inspections house because he is a $99 special this month.
Right.
I say that is your decision. However, this is why we like, this guy or this guy. And then they're like, no, we're going to use, and I get sick. Like the amount of anxiety going into the inspection. And then once I get the report,
it's not going to be good.
And I'm like, you know what? At certain points, I almost want to be like, I will pay for the home inspection if you use this person, because I just you're not going to get a clear report. You're not going to get the information you need. And then it's going to be probably very scary, because there's going to be a lot of what if conversations. Well, what if this does explode, or what if the roof does fall in, because you don't have the information.
Our inspectors are walking through the houses with them, explaining like, I'm going to note this, but this isn't a big deal. I'm going to note this, and you may want to get this taken care of.
You need someone to explain this to you.
Yes.
I mean, we see inspections multiple times a week, and there are still sometimes I'll read it and be like, I'll call the inspector and say, what does this mean? Or how serious is this? Because there's so much that can happen in a house, especially when they're like 1900s.
Oh my goodness. And that's something too, I have the conversation with my buyers. It's like, listen, the inspection report is to identify every single thing that is wrong with the home.
Yes.
It's going to be at least 50 pages, and it is going to be very overwhelming, because for 2 to 3 hours, you are going to hear everything that is wrong with the home that you're purchasing. So you're going to walk away not feeling great about it, which is why we're going to just sleep on it if we have, if the timeline allows. And then we're going to have a call the next day, and we're going to break it down. And that always goes, like, everyone's like, I'm feeling so much better now that I've been able to sleep on it. Because you read it again and you're like,
simmer.
Yes, you simmer on it, because you're like, that maybe that wasn't that bad.
That applies to all of life.
Oh my God, simmer. Yeah, literally. I mean, we just have to, sometimes we have to, as agents,
simmer on it.
So you
maybe
have to
you'll
just
like him
simmer.
the next day.
Sometimes I always want to make sure I'm in the right mind when I'm working, when I'm in work mode.
Yeah.
And sometimes, obviously, just as a human, I'm not, I get anxieties. I get overwhelmed. I'm a mom to a toddler, as are you. And like, you sometimes you just have to say, okay, I'm just going to take a minute. I'm going to walk away from my phone. I'm going to go get my Dunkin' and go for a drive or whatever it is. And I'm going to come back to this in 30, 45 minutes because I'm going to be able to think clearly and I'm going to be able to act on this a lot better than if I handle it right now. And I think that goes back into boundaries as well.
1,000%. So the last question I have for you today is going to be, where do you see the Tori Angiolini team in 5 years?
Oh, okay. So
that wasn't on the outline. So.
That's okay. I will say there are not enough words to begin to describe how grateful I am for all of you girls and how amazing it is how every single one of you we all ended up together. And
Truthfully.
I didn't go out and search for anyone and no one was really searching for me either. We just all kind of ended up together. And to me, it doesn't matter how much business we do. I just want everybody to be happy with their personal business and their growth in the industry. And I just want to continue working together. Like if we operated in the same capacity that we do now for the next 40, 50 years, will I be alive? And probably not.
Yeah. I hope so.
I hope so too. I don't know. I'll be retired at least. If we operated in the same capacity, I would be happy. Like, I actually want to stay in the now. I really do. Because I think where we're at right now is such a wonderful place.
Yeah.
I don't want to grow a mega team. Of course, if there's a good fit along the road, maybe we'll consider. But I think I just want to stay in the now and I just want to continue growing together. It doesn't matter about the numbers. If everyone's happy, if everybody's able to achieve their goals and afford the life that they want and, have the business that they want to have, that's all that matters to me. So I think I just want what we have right now to be the same way in 5 years and I'd be happy.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
And I'm lucky to have you, Laura.
I'm lucky to have you too. On that note, thank you so much for listening in. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact Tori Angiolini or myself. You can check out our website at the ToriAngioliniTeam.com.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I can't remember.
Or you can reach out to us on social.
Slide into our DMs.
Yeah.
It always works. All right. Be well.
See ya.